record to the cloud. Okay, so here we go. So anyways, my official start off of this thing is really now, and my intent today is not to go very, very long. I always try to keep these things a little bit shorter because in the end, I essentially want to be able to just give people as much information as I can in as little time as possible. That's my goal because you got 1,440 minutes, is 24 hours every single day, that once they're gone, you never get them back. And I think it's easy to lose sight of the fact that yesterday is gone and tomorrow's not promised to anybody. So that's why it's really, really key to be able to be almost from an efficiency standpoint. But here's a powerful thing is, and write this one down, okay? As a matter of fact, I'd like to see, has anybody ever read the book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle? Okay, if anybody's read that, which I'd be shocked if anybody has, and impressed, but Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. And if you haven't read that book, I would strongly recommend actually reading that book. That is out of the hundreds, if not potentially thousands of books that I've ever read in my lifetime, that to me was the most impactful. It was the most powerful. It was also the one book that I was so moved by that I would actually want to buy extra copies and give them to other people. And here's the interesting thing that I learned about that was most people, I'm talking like 80% of the people, were never able to finish the book. Okay, so there's a little powerful message in there because in the end, we've all read a book that's maybe dry or monotonous or whatever. But the point is, we're talking a New York Times bestseller, sold millions of copies around the world. And again, the book is titled The Power of Now. I would say if I could recommend one book, if I was only allowed to recommend one book for any person that I come in contact with for the rest of my life, it would be The Power of Now, because The Power of Now delivers this amazing message that outside of right now, outside of this moment, nothing ever exists. Now think about that. That means that problems don't exist, right? I mean, literally problems, opportunities, challenges, whatever you want to call them. Right now is all you ever have. Now, if you can take that and put it into because I'm a huge believer in keeping the journal and then doing first things first. You've heard the philosophy that ultimately you want to work on yourself before you work for anybody else. That should be the first thing of every day, whether it's 3 o'clock in the morning, whether it's 9 o'clock in the morning, whether it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon is relevant. You work on you before you work for anybody else. And sadly, most people don't do that, and they're just absolutely shocked by how all of a sudden it's astonishing the fact that it's already past halfway through January and you just blink and there it goes. But that's what's going to happen when you look 365 days out. You look 1 year from now, 1 year from today is just today 365 times. So ultimately, you can take any worthwhile goal, whether it's trading, whether it's fitness, whether it's finance, whether it's spirituality, whether it's relationships, and you can put a little bit of time every single day. And it still goes back to that saying of picturing every single day. I picture a jar. Okay, just rocks in the jar. And I write in my journal, I call it Las Piedras, which is the word for rocks. And I lay out my lines on my journal and I put in the rocks first, because if you actually filled a jar with sand and then tried putting the rocks in, it's not very doable. That's how people live their entire life. But the majority of us on this call right here, or anybody who's watching the recording at some point, realize that basically we're the only ones who are in control of our destiny. We're the only people that are responsible for literally what we do with the 24 hours every single day of the 1,440 minutes. And when you condense that and start to really put in the effort, and there's simple tools that you can use. I have an earpiece that I work with. So I'll just put the earpiece in while I'm doing my push-ups, while I've got TradingView or Colors or whatever I've got that I'm using for a platform to watch the markets, to watch the charts. And I'll have an earpiece in while I'm listening to Wayne Dyer or Claude Bristol or W. Clement Stone or Og Mandino or Napoleon Hill or Stephen Covey, first things first. But the other thing is like a little tool like this little bugger right here. It costs like 38 bucks. I don't know. It's a Bluetooth, but the sound out of it is absolutely amazing. So I can just connect that to my phone, and it's like I'm sitting with that author. And by the way, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, is on Audible. Okay, if you want to hear the most monotone speaker you ever hear in your life, that's him. Okay, but it's worth it. I've listened to it 10 times. I've read the book multiple times. I one time took a trip down to the Mississippi and ended up in Cuba on the way to Yucatan Peninsula. Quintana Roo is the state outside of Cancun. And I'll never forget these military people, these Cuban army people come onto the boat because they have to inspect your boat. That's just what they do. And anyways, they spent like 2 hours going through the whole boat, and I had a library on the boat. And there was one gentleman who just sat there. He picked up that one book, and the whole 2 hours he was there, he sat there reading it. He literally, it's a true story. He just sat there reading the book. He couldn't put it down. Now, granted, I had written all over the book. I had highlighting, I had lines, I had stuff underlined, I had notes. If I see something really powerful, I rewrite it in the sideline. And this book was just literally almost shredded, right? But it was in good condition. I'm just saying in terms of how the notes and everything were in this book. This guy picked up the book. I don't know if the title caught him or whatever else. And this is when Cuba was a communist country. Okay. So as a result, they weren't allowed to have things like this. But the cool thing is this guy, for the 2 hours he was there, was two guys doing the inspection of the boat. And one guy's going through, the other guy couldn't put the book down. And he sat there. And then when they were done, they're like, yeah, you're good to go. And I was really just stopping in to spend the night for some fuel. And then when these guys were leaving, I'm like, you can keep that book. He says, no, I can't do it. There's no way I can't possibly keep this book. You know, that's your book. I says, that's all right. I've got another copy at home. This was just the copy that I'd worn the most and carried with me wherever I went. But I'm like, listen, that book belongs to you. That's your book. You keep it. And the cool thing is the guy literally, it was probably one of the most appreciative people I've ever seen in my entire life. For him to be able to actually take this, it was like as if I gave him a car. Okay. And that's just crazy because now we can go on Audible and I pay $14.99 a month. I suggest anybody that oh, this is going to sound offensive. Anybody that has a brain has Audible subscription because you get 1 credit per month. And that 1 credit, I've ordered audio programs like Zig Ziglar's Ultimate Library that, like, if you were to buy it straight out, costs like $75. I bought countless things on Pimsleur that are programs for foreign language studies. And the thing is, you just pay 1 credit. You pay 1 credit. So I've got this library that's extensive as heck. So I can bounce from author to author to author. But ultimately, you cannot forget. This is one thing that, even if you know this, I want you to write this down. Even if you know this, write this down. The one of the highest laws, in my opinion, probably remember my opinion, the greatest law in life is you want to know what your life's going to look like in 5 years. It's going to be the people you associate with in the books that you read. But yet, how many people have a day go by and then all of a sudden weeks go by and they're like, oh my Lord, look how long it's been since I've even picked up a book. And there is so much time. We just have way more distractions nowadays than people had 80 years ago, 50 years ago. Okay. And the reality is that 24 hours you have every day, that's why it is so critically important that you do you first. You understand that? You literally work on you before you work for somebody else. And I don't just use one tool. I don't just read a book. I'll also do audio. So I've got multiples. And as I mentioned last week, the current book that I've been reading is The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And that book is just powerful because ultimately anything that we want that's worthwhile in life, it just boils down to a whole bunch of little baby steps, but it also works against us. Success is the easiest to accomplish with so many things, but it's also easy not to do. That is the problem. So ultimately, you just really, really have to get that. But here's the other thing that I want you to write down. And maybe I would challenge somebody to try to write this in a chat just so that way other people, if they don't catch it, I'm going to say it multiple times. Okay. But to me, I would, this is what I would do. Okay. I would actually take this sentence and I would write it today. And then tomorrow, I don't care if you write it on a Post-it note. I don't care if you write it on a piece of paper, then throw the piece of paper out because what goes through you sticks to you. Okay. Here's your quote. The ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality one can have. Okay. That's it. I mean, that's literally the nugget. That is the goal that I want you to have off of this call. The ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have. What would happen if you wrote that down? Every single day of your life. You just forget the whole life. Let's look for 30 days out. Go for a week. The ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have. Okay. And again, I've already said it like 3 times, and I'll probably say it again multiple times. But here's what I want you to, this is what I want you to get out of this time that basically you're investing into sitting here and listening to me is the ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have. So it's again how easy that is to rattle off, because if you say something again and again and again, what would happen if you literally set that into like a meditational mantra throughout the day? Okay. But then, most importantly, every single day, write down the ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have. So here's an interesting story to put it into context. Okay. And this has nothing to do with it, but it has everything to do with it. Okay. I'm driving down the road on Friday. So this was, 5 days ago, something like that. And all of a sudden, as I'm driving down the road, this car decided to pull out from a parking spot directly in my path. And I mean, smashed the front end of my car into the tire. Okay. I mean, like, not drivable. So I pull off to the side of the road. Unfortunately, this gentleman was kind enough to pull over. He didn't just leave, which he probably could have, because he was driving a truck that's brand new. Minimal damage to his truck. So moral of the story, get a truck. But the crazy part is, he instantly called the police non-emergency number. I give him credit for that. Okay. And then change insurance information or else. Here's the funny thing is, and this is so coincidental. My brother had done the same thing a month or 2 months ago. He literally pulled out into traffic and he was just like, oh, my bad, and his insurance company had to cover it. It was his fault, but he literally said, this is my fault. It's my fault. I looked, but obviously I didn't look quick enough. It's good to look twice. This guy took a different approach. His approach was, I was 3/4 of the way pulled out when this guy hit me. And the cop is like, that's absolutely impossible. You're either where damage on his car and where your truck got hit. You literally pulled right in his path. And he was issued a ticket for essentially failure to yield. So now it falls on his insurance company. So the moral of the story, drive safe. I mean, no matter what, I had zero reaction time. He literally just, but be more attentive, more aware. But the crazy thing is, his insurance company contacts me, and my car was just towed to a towing place in town. And I said, don't you take it to a body shop? And they're like, no, essentially until we hear from the insurance company. The insurance company notified me on Monday telling me that they're not going to do anything with that car until they get a police report, which takes anywhere between 1 to 2 weeks. And they also were kind enough to say, just so you know, you're liable for paying the $45 per day plus the towing fee. And then, eventually we'll reimburse you, but not past 3 or 4 days. So if my car was sitting there for 10 days, that'd be $450 out of my pocket. So at that point, I just got a phone with my insurance company, said, hey, you deal with this. Okay. You deal with this. And they instantly took care of it. I mean, they took care of everything. The cars already have a rental car. They've already got my car being moved. They got the inspection. So literally, and then now they can go after that insurance company. So moral of the story, get Geico, not Nationwide, because Nationwide is not cool. And if people say it's like, based on what I pay for insurance, man, you could save a little money here or there. I don't pay for insurance to have insurance for a car. I pay for insurance so that way I know that when things are done, they're done. So now keep this in mind, the ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have. Do you think that might have affected me that day? I'm dead serious. Okay, if I write that down, which I did, the first line that I put in my journal, I got a lot of good stuff. Like some of the stuff that I write down in a bold, today is all you ever have. Once today's gone, it's gone forever. You never get that back. I rewrite these little reminders. That's what it's called, just reminders. But the very first line that gets written down is essentially the ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have, because in the end we have always have good stuff in life, and we have blessings, and we have also just drama. I'm going to use the word drama. We have things that happen. We have circumstances. We don't control the circumstances, but I learned from Covey years ago, Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He said, if anything's outside your sphere of influence, and so does Eckhart Tolle. He hits on this really hard. Okay. If it's outside your sphere of influence, then there's no point in stressing over it. We all know this. There's not a single person on this call that doesn't know this, but we still do. How we act and how we react are really more important than what we know. Think about that. That's why you write down the ability to enjoy life is every day. The ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have. Why? Because today's all you got. You don't got tomorrow. Sorry for my verbiage there, but you don't get tomorrow. Yesterday's gone. None of that matters. Now think about how this could affect contextually your life or anybody that you know. Any single person that you know, and you look at their life, you see how they're reacting versus acting. Now the question comes down to control. If that's the case, then who's in control? You think about that. And why is that important? Because life is absolutely 100% what we make it. Life is totally what we make it. I don't care where we're at in the world. Doesn't matter if you're in Tennessee, if you're in Chicago, if you're in Antarctica, it doesn't matter. We literally only have this very day. Okay, so from a physical standpoint, get proper rest, get proper diet, and get proper exercise. Most people fail on 2 out of the 3. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. And when it comes to nutrition, we forget about the fact that anytime you have flour or sugars, it weakens your immune system. Okay, literally weakens your immune system. And you see people sick all over the place, and people exercise at best minimal. But that should be something that is done every single day. It's kind of like making your bed or brushing your teeth or bathing. These are things that you should do every single day with a little reminder saying you get to, you get to. I always put hyphens around get to. You get to. It's something that you get to do. So between now and next Wednesday, I would love to see as many people on this. Just rewrite that. Again, you could take something like a Post-it note and just throw it on there. Maybe stick it on the fridge, stick it on the wall, or throw it out. It doesn't matter. The point is you're writing it. The best way to do it, in my opinion, is in the journal. That middle section on the top right page is reminders. And then you put the ability to enjoy life every single day, just whatever single day, keep it the same every time. The ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have. When you do this, you're going to learn way more than I can teach you. You're actually, or that I can share with you, better choice of words, is the fact that you're going to find out, oh my Lord, this is amazing because I have the ability. I've shared this thought or idea over the last week with multiple people, and they told me just through a discussion, maybe because they had to go work a shift they weren't scheduled to work. Okay, or something changed, something, pick something, anything, you name it. I mean, it's limitless with stuff that happens, and then I can casually just subtly tie in. I heard recently the ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have. And I says, you should try this. Try this for a week. Just write it down every single day. Now think about how this applies to you, because it's our responsibility to enjoy life every day. There's people that live in third world countries that have such a limited resource. I've seen so many beggars in my life, and so many people that a lot of these people are kids, and you have other people that have addictions that they got into, and then their life is all unraveled. But in the end, everybody's in control. Everybody's more in control than they realize. Now, granted, when you're getting into kids, they have less knowledge, less awareness, less, obviously options to work with. But then shame on us if we don't. Shame on us if we don't remind ourselves every single day that the ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality we can have. It actually makes you want to slow down, makes you want to pour a hot tea or a glass of wine, and then just sit down and give yourself time to read a book where you're actually sitting there with the pen in hand. And some people say, I can't read. And the crazy part is that's absolute BS. Anybody can read. You can read a sentence. The problem is we have challenges paying attention. So that's why when I'm reading, I have a highlighter and a pen handy, sometimes a piece of tape if I want to mark a page. These are really good tips, right? But then I'm reading. I'm actually not just reading. I'm looking for stuff. And then I'll highlight and I'll underline. I'll even rewrite it in the margins. And all of a sudden now, page turn, page turn, page turn, page turn. And just like that, you blink and a half hour goes by. So don't get caught up in the time. The key takeaway is write down the word read on your calendar and put day 1, and then do some reading. The most important thing about going to the gym is showing up. It isn't the 6 miles on the treadmill. Okay, it's not. It's showing up. That's how you qualify day 1. I promise you, any single person and every single person who's on this call, if it was your 428th or 4,287th day of just reading, okay, it's just a matter of picking up a book and then essentially just doing some reading, okay? Because you'll find, and everybody knows this, you already know this, starting essentially is easy. Starting is the easiest thing to do. That's all you got to do is start. And then once you start, then you just work, you deal with tomorrow. But now, what if you couple this with the ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have? Now, what's going to happen is you're actually going to consciously put yourself in a state to where you're actually enjoying the reading. And if you enjoy the reading, or sitting in a live trading session, or going for a walk, or going for a run, pick anything. And I promise you, if you are enjoying because you're choosing to enjoy what you're doing, it will be far more effective. Think about that. It's absolutely staggering. And if you've got 24 hours every day, I know that there's got to be at least maybe one person who hasn't heard this, Ben Franklin is one of the people that made it famous, I guess, popular, is he said, if you give me, he goes, if you, and this is how he worded it, if you give me, and that's a good autobiography, it's probably the greatest autobiography of all time, is Benjamin Franklin, autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. He said, give me 6 hours to cut down a tree, I'm going to spend 4 hours sharpening the axe. Okay, now think about that. Sharpen the axe. That goes back to Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's one of the 7 habits. Sharpen the axe. That's what this is. And that's why I love doing these calls, is because literally this is the point of sharpening the axe. And it's just finding a way to fine tune it and then get better and just constantly keep learning, constantly keep growing. You never stop learning. The Japanese word for learning is kaizen. There's no English translation. Anthony Robbins came up with basically constant and never ending improvement. So I had that in basically embossed on my golf balls, okay? Because that's the focus. It isn't the shot that I'm hitting. I'm just focusing on improving, okay? It gets you to slow down. But again, couple that with, okay, the ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have. And you will find yourself less reactionary. You will find yourself less a victim, because all of a sudden your ability to, it has nothing to do with the stuff that goes on with you. Sometimes people are just shocked. They're like, how do you always have such a positive mental attitude? I'm like, you know what? I'm just like everybody else. The difference is I'm sharpening the axe. That's the difference. I don't have a gift. I don't have some blessing. I don't have something where I'm just wired a certain way. No, it's because literally I focus on me before I'm going to focus on anybody else in terms of sharpening the axe. I'm going to put the time into the audio program, study the foreign languages, do the reading, do the push-ups, do the running, do the exercise, doing the studying on the trading. And that's the crazy part. You know, it's interesting because when I look at it, it still blows me away on a day-to-day basis, the amount of revenue that can be generated in a short time frame. I mean, I took one account just one account from the month of November, and that account is up at least 20-fold since November 16th. Okay, and it has the ability to generate, even if I was only withdrawing, let's say a couple $100 a day, it's $1,000 a week. That's an extra $4,000 a month. When you look at that, I believe $50 a day. Okay, $50 a day would radically change most people's lives. Even extra $1,000 a month coming in, I mean, it takes all the pressure off, takes the stress off, bills are paid, whatever else. But again, just keep that in mind, is the fact that that's just something that you either do it today or you don't. That's another good reminder to write down. You either do it or you don't. You either read today or you don't. You either study today or you don't. You either practice today or you don't. But again, you want to know what your life's going to look like in 3 to 5 years? It's the people you associate with and the books that you read. Now, looking at last month, I was able to go to Colorado, able to go to Vegas. I have got my calendar laid out with some things that I want to do in 2022. You think that drives me when I can actually look out? I lay out every single month, actually for about 20 months out, and then I'll put things that'll come up on the calendar. And since I like golf, you know, Hawaii could be good for January because there's major golf events in Hawaii and a lot of places to golf. That's how you live your life. That's why I'm sharing this with you. I'm sharing this with you because there's not a single person that cannot do that. Okay, but it's going to start with you writing down the ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have. Do that for a month. That's the first challenge. Ideally 365 days, but even for a week, most importantly, do it today. Write that down today. Then tomorrow, write down that one thing. And then watch how you already know. I don't have to tell you. You already know how that's going to affect your mindset. That's going to affect how you all of a sudden now act versus react. And you're going to become more aware, and awareness. Here's another one to write down. Awareness is the greatest agent of change. Remember that. Okay, change is a constant, and awareness is the greatest agent of change. This will give you a higher level of awareness, but more importantly, you're going to enjoy life. Another thing that I've added onto my calendar, I call it the rocking chair test. Anybody who's listening to me can literally go mentally into a place where they're like literally 100 years old. Okay, I know a gentleman who's 102 years old, born in 1919, and you know he basically just moved out of his house a few months back. But the point is, go there, put yourself, it's a rocking chair test. And literally close your eyes, feel it, go there, and then now transport yourself back to today. I mean, if you really understand what I just said, it will give you goosebumps. And all of a sudden now you feel so alive, you just feel vibrant. You realize it's a rocking chair test. A rocking chair test should be done every single day because you hear it today. It means nothing a week from now. It means nothing a month from now. It means nothing 2 months from now. Today's the only one that you control. And that's why the ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have. I mean, literally, that's the only thing I want anybody to get out of this call. I'm throwing in a whole bunch of other little nuggets and little thoughts or ideas, but that is the literally the one piece that has the ability to change anyone's life. But now think about this. If you did it one time, would it change your life? I say no. Okay. But if you did it every single day, how would it not change your life? Think about that. People would notice a distinct difference in you. That affects the law of attraction. That affects how you feel. That affects your energy, your vibrations, pretty much the whole work. So with that, I'm going to close on that thought. And my attempt to do my short call never succeeds. But anyways, it's pretty close to target. But thanks again for all your time. I really appreciate you all being here. And essentially, just do that. Write that one down. Just remember that. Remember that the ability to enjoy life every day is the highest quality you can have. And all these are also going to YouTube channel being recorded. So if you want to pass it on to anybody else who might need that message, but sometimes I think we need that message more than we realize, because I mean, literally life is what we make it. So with that, just really remember life is what you make it. Take care.